We have a motion for that on this agenda.
We'll move.
Second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Heeman. Oops, did I start last? No, you didn't start with that.
Yeah, it's up and now.
Okay. Motion by trustee Heeman and seconded by trustee Curry. Discussion on the motion. With there being none, trustee Hutchinson?
Aye.
Trustee Curry? Trustee Frost?
Aye.
Trustee Heeman? Trustee
Aye.
Curry?
Aye.
And trustee Nichols?
Aye.
Start that again, Ed?
Yeah. Been a nice too long. Okay. I do not have any committee appointments. If anybody has any suggestions for their committee, we will be, I'd be happy to consider them. Did everybody get a letter to the Johnsburg School Open House?
Yes.
To what?
The Johnsburg School Open House?
No.
You didn't, okay.
Is it in there?
It's Monday.
Is it in our
It's
email?
I don't know, I just got
It's in
it.
the
But it just came, I think.
Delivered here.
Right.
It was delivered here, and it's,
The name,
was it October 3rd or 5th at Monday? So it's this Monday,
Wednesday. Oh.
Monday and Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Wednesday at the high school?
Monday, junior high, Wednesday, the high school.
Wednesday, October fifth.
Deal.
So, just bring that to everyone's attention. Okay. New building, new business? Move to approve ordinance 16, 17, 19, granting, did we take a roll call?
No action, right?
First read.
First read, this is first reading, no action. Granting a variance for property commonly known as Meyer Property, 3701 Fillmore Road, Johnsburg, Illinois.
No,
Discussion.
Ed, I got
You should
an email from Tim Hayes about, ordinance committee, but I didn't see that on there. All I saw was this.
This is the first read.
Yes, I didn't see any comments or questions from.
You didn't get the
From Claudia.
ordinance 16, 17-19, Fillmore accessory buildings.
Oh, okay.
It's for it's basically for a shed bigger than what we normally would allow. Did everybody else get the minutes? Or the
I got
rest of the
it on an email.
the ordinance?
I got an email. I read it already.
Did it come from Tim?
No, it came from Claudia.
She attached it with the board meeting minutes and
Yeah,
all the other
all
information.
the docs.
It's all the docs up on the top.
Is there any questions about it that we want to raise before we approve it at the next meeting?
Because there's no neighbors complained about it. It was strange building, no heat, no
It's
water.
basically a
no-
shed. Yeah.
Just some crap work in there or something, it says.
Thanks, John.
Any discussions? Any questions that we want us to raise before we bring it back to you?
You're gonna have a 16-foot high building here, right?
It says,
And Lou was a 10-foot max.
Yes.
and 255 square foot feet, I think the maximum is 168, if I'm not mistaken,
Kevin, there's another sheet here.
by our ordinance. Isn't it, Tim? 168 for a shed by our ordinance?
12 by 14, sure. You can get the whole thing.
Oh, I got it, I finally found it.
Oh, all right. I'm just wondering why it needs that height.
Maybe for storage above it.
It's probably, well, it's the second floor, like a barn roof or a gym roof.
Seems to be the issues, no neighbors.
No questions? There being none, Tim?
Ready? Yep. All right, good evening. A long time coming here, but we are ready to present to the board the Johnsburg Downtown Master Plan, which is an amendment to the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. This is our second amendment to the original plan done in the late 90s, early 2000s. We partnered with Teskin Associates on that original one. And then if you recall, or maybe some of the newer trustees don't, but we also did a amendment to the comp plan, which was called the Route 31 Corridor Plan some years ago, which set the table for what you see out there today, really, the road network, the sanitary sewer and water master planning. It identified setbacks, protection of the right-of-ways, and again, it set the table for JCPenney, Walmart, and really, quite honestly, for Remington Homes. And it even went so far to talk about transit-oriented development, which you've probably seen in different presentations. And so we presented this July 19th to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it was recommended to approve unanimously. And I'm just going to quickly go through kind of a history. Claudette and I spoke, and we felt it would be important because we do have some new faces on the board, and maybe, like me, some of us over the years forget what we've accomplished and talked about. So what we'll talk about is the downtown planning phases, just a quick overview. The survey results, which we did in phase 2, and then the proposed exhibits, which is the main focus of the amendment and what we'll all be kind of promoting and selling moving forward, and then future steps and tasks. And this was just a map from the early days that showed when the board agreed on the EDC and planning, and everyone agreed on the kind of the boundary of the downtown planning area. And so at the far north end, this is Oak Creek Townhomes. Oak Creek Townhomes to the north, Sunnyside Park here, and then it reaches out where my pointer's at is Dan Stoppel's property at Spring Grove Road and Johnsburg Road. And then we even went across the river, and we'll have some discussions on that as well. So that's what's known as the downtown master plan. So quick, again, phase 1 was completed in the fall of 13. We took all the maps we had collected since the 90s, even when we were Sunnyside and then became Johnsburg. We had a lot of great information. We had old surveys, we had old information, we had maps, we had exhibits, we had sewer, water, a little bit of everything. We had all our zoning maps, and we had the original comp plan. And then in the summer of 2014, we had the funding that next year to do public surveys. We had public meetings. We did image preference surveys, and again, got some really good results, which again guided us to this next step of what do the village businesses and residents and stakeholders, what do they really want to see the downtown become over time. And so we're here today, and then in 14-15, phase 3, we kind of created the opportunities and constraints. We had, again, more public input meetings as part of the process with stakeholders right from the downtown area, then more public meetings with kind of the overall community, the business community. I spoke at JAVA with John, at EDC, I presented at Public Works, I presented at pretty much to all the committees over time. John and I kind of built a roadshow. And again, just continually spread the good news of what we're hoping to accomplish in the next several years. We even did some concept planning, and then ultimately we created the Downtown Master Plan Report, which actually will get slid in behind in its own chapter behind the original comp plan. It it's approved tonight, then Claudette and I will finalize, because there were some comments from planning, very minor, and then we're just going to clean things up, and then give it to her in a Word doc so she can get it. We also, again, we need to continue downtown planning, various phases or little pockets of it. And again, I think this is a living document. We really need to continue to promote it. It would be a real shame if this just sat on a shelf after tonight and we didn't get excited and start getting active in promoting not only the village but the downtown area. We have a lot of opportunities. So again, quickly, from the 2004 comp plan, these are just some of the highlighted principles of what we continue to look back on. I did give everyone a copy of this, so I'll try to kind of expedite this so we can get into more of the meat of the presentation and some of the uses and the discussions with that. But again, we want to really identify the original core of the village. Again, historically served as the primary center for business and civic activity, a focal point of community life, infill, rehab, reuse, redevelopment. And then again, it was all about mixed uses, some residential land uses to help support the businesses. And then there's a very strong, even with the current presentations, development should be pedestrian oriented.
Jim, could we go back to that one slide? I'd like to make a recommendation for maybe a change. Bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 includes mixed uses and residential land uses to help support civic activities and businesses.
This is not in our deal. This is what was done in 2004.
Oh, okay.
So we will,
You got what I'm meaning
to
by
make
that.
sure, but
Okay.
this is what was stated in '04. I'm trying to kind of show that we
The
built,
history.
we built upon
Right,
what
okay.
you had said back in '04, which was done because of the strategic planning.
Surprised we didn't have that in there then. Shame on me.
So again, this was the data collection I spoke of. You saw the maps. We had the boundary, topo, wetland, soils, trees, transportation elements, sewer, water, parks and open space. And that was a crucial element to identify, because if you look at that, kind of the odd shape of the boundary, really looks like we could do a ton of things, right? It looks like we got a lot of opportunity. But when you kind of turn everything on, and what's in red is really constraints, floodway, floodplain, soils, trees, some restrictive items that we just will plan with, around, and maybe make it part of the green spaces, open spaces, and things like that.
Tim, that area below Shabillo's property and the backside, is that the backside of Whispering Oaks, or is
Right
it?
here.
Is it Ridge, that's the backside of Whispering
Oakland subdivision.
Yeah, this is Whispering Ridge subdivision right here.
Oh,
So along the backside, this is what happens in the back of Bay
So
Oak.
that isn't part of anybody's lot, huh?
It is, it's part of those back lots.
It's probably floodplain from the sewer area back there.
No, there's a wetland back there, and that's a natural deed
Slopes
restrict.
off way down the wall.
Yeah, we used to walk through every spring.
It's a deed restricted open space as part of those lots that the HOA is responsible for. There is stormwater management there, but there's also a natural area that has to be maintained.
So the part from the red all the way over to what would be Chapel Hill Oaks is part of that too then, right?
Yes.
Is that where your arrow is?
Yeah, right in here, yeah.
But that's not wetlands.
That's stormwater management, they have that big detention areas in there.
That is, that's, yeah.
So again, this just kind of helps us understand where we can and can't place buildings, structure with basement, even with roads and utilities. We just want to have a clear understanding of some of the challenges and some of the constraints. So then in '06, we had done a survey, actually John and the team had done a survey back, and what was interesting is Phil Stuper, who was our lead planner on this from the beginning, since the inception of this project, he's actually moved back to our Colorado office to help grow that business. He was here for all the public meetings, he was here for the planning zoning, and, I told him I would take this and hope I wouldn't screw it up too bad and talk about planning as an engineer, so. But this was something that we asked John not to share with Phil and Jim and Dave and some of our team, because I didn't want him to kind of get, biased, if you will. I wanted him to come to, our team to come to their own conclusions after we did the survey and the image preference, and then we blended them together. And that was actually pretty interesting how from '06 to 2014, it was very similar comments and still some of the highlights. Need more dining in the downtown, create events, the farmer markets, does it need to be planned? Yes, they absolutely wanted it to be planned. Sidewalk was a big one, and street lighting. Again, in '06, the Johnsburg Road, roundabout, the sidewalk, the streetscape, the ITEP grants, none of that stuff was being planned, but we didn't even know we were going to be able to get that ITEP grant to make it look like what it did today. So that's been a real boost for us to help explain to the people during the current projects, or the current phases, to just say, streetscape, what you see on Johnsburg Road, the roundabout, et cetera, is going to continue St. John's, Church Street, and on down Johnsburg Road and Chapel Hill Road. And people absolutely love that look, the lights, the walk, the landscaping, the signs and things. In 2014, we had a great response, almost 660 responses. 52% came from people that called Johnsburg their home. 82% lived in Johnsburg for more than 5 years. 4% lived in Johnsburg but moved to a different community. We did reach out to some people that we knew were part of the process years ago and moved away, and we kind of wanted to get their take as to what they thought, why they moved, or what could bring them back. We're reaching for some ideas. 4% owned a recreational property, i.e. like a second home or vacation home. And again, the quality of life was a big one in the survey results: education, low crime, sidewalks, recreational opportunities, and communities. You guys can read these, but again, this was what the survey told us. It was all about aesthetics. It was all about the sidewalks and the pedestrian areas. The recreation was big. They wanted to make sure that the intersections acknowledged pedestrians and made sure it was safe. Base employment, retail. So, nobody really wanted, obviously we have our Route 31 corridor. We're not talking, I just want to make that clear, we're not talking about bringing we're not talking the big box retail in the downtown. That's out on Route 31, and that's where it's established, and that's where we've planned it. What we're talking about when we say retail is kind of the neighborhood retail, kind of small to medium size, like what we have going on, and kind of adding to it. So again, people were on the same track from '06 to '14. Coming out of that, this was shown at the fair a couple times, and this was kind of the beginning of when we started to plan. You see the constraints. We started to identify a road network. We started to look at future intersection improvements and what would be needed. At this time when we prepared this, the roundabout was already constructed. We already had the streetscape. We already had a signalized intersection. So some of the things we talked about in 6 and in 12 and 13 were already starting to come to fruition. This, what they call the South River area, this was planned by 2 or 3 developers, investor groups before the Great Recession in '08. And so we did have some good plans. We had some great data. They had done the wetlands, the soils. They had communicated with MCDOT at the county and our team, and so we've implemented a lot of those items into this plan. When you'll see, we've taken a few shots at some road networks and some planning for the mixed uses when people come back and want to have interest in this area. So we created the opportunities and goals, and I know we had spoken about it at the various committees, and I also believe when I gave an update when we were completed, these were the opportunities and goals that are shown. They were shown on all the different exhibits at all the different public meetings. Some of the constraints and challenges, which we know, and again, this exhibit was used over the last two and a half years. We broke it into sectors. Historic Sunnyside, this was called, what was called the downtown center, and then we had kind of the South River area. I think at one time then we changed this to kind of historic Sunnyside and old Johnsburg, original Johnsburg, and then the Spring Grove Jasper corridor. So we were just trying to break it into manageable chunks. So then, coming out of that, this is a large picture, and in your packet, you'll see where I zoom into the three or four different quadrants. But based on all that information, all the surveys, and our planning and engineering expertise, we had basically walked several times with John and Claudette and several of us, actually drove the entire area with the plan in hand, if you will, to see what would best fit, how things could transition from what was there, what the potential to be redeveloped or relocated, and in some of the vacant areas, some of the ideas and options we had. So the next side kind of blows up the north area, Sunnyside Park, historic Sunnyside we call this. So starting up at the top, I'll just quickly go through this. This is I don't know if you know, but we own a park on Oak Creek Townhomes property. That was part of the negotiations. This was what I call HD residential. It's just a higher density than our traditional 1 acre. And then even in the subdivisions that you see to the south, like where Jim lives, those are much smaller lots, which would be considered kind of a higher density. You know, half acre, 3/4 acre, 1 acre above are the large or low density lots. But this was 44 townhome units that was approved many, many years ago, and they're either waiting on the sanitary sewer, and they still have a potential permit in hand to do their own deal here, but I think they're waiting for sewer. So along this road here, but May Avenue is here, there's real opportunity for commercial. There's little areas that currently we have the gas station, we have the video store, we have the pizza. Again, we'd like to continue that and or allow these groups to redevelop, maybe some facade, maybe some expansion. Again, as we get the sewer up into this area, that'll really help them, you know, park or expand over their existing areas they have for their septic fields. Here's Channel Beach, and so again, we all agreed that this could be a really neat opportunity for the neighborhood businesses here in this red or maroon color. You know, Sunnyside Tavern's on the corner. This is the vacant property that the village bought. So we thought we'd take advantage, create a few lots out there to sell and to generate some revenue to, again, create additional open space and parking for Sunnyside Park. And then here is the bank, here's Val's, here's Raymond's Bowl. We talked about allowing them with sewer. They could expand, infill their outlets, and Angelo's, has the ability to expand their building. Right now they're using it for septic out back and to the north. And then we felt it was very appropriate to consider, I'm not saying high density, but it's kind of a cluster development that would tuck in nicely behind Angelo's, behind the park, very walkable, and again, there are some samples and pictures that were shown during the image preference. Smaller lots, again, maybe narrower roads, sidewalks, and things like that. Coach houses, maybe a little bit nicer house on a smaller lot was the concept with this. There is a vacant lot here in front of Shiloh Ridge, and then this is what's known as the Carrot Piece. So we took an opportunity to extend Hilltop and realign it so that it lines up with the entrance to Angelo's, and then that gives us a little more opportunity to blend in the residential here, and then again expand and provide a roadway network for maybe a potential opportunity next to the dental office there. Again, people have converted their existing homes to neighborhood business, professional offices, and that's what we'd like to continue to encourage. Again, there's opportunity on the other side of the existing road that comes into the store, or the retail strip, and with sewer and some planning, we really feel we can get 3 or 4 additional lots, which could really generate some buzz and some activity and some streetscape opportunities in the downtown area. So with that, again, near the bottom you see that is Church Street there. The realignment is being considered as part of our engineering plan. There's the bank, there's the fire station, and that's where the Village Hall PD will be someday in the next several years. And so that's creating a nice kind of a quasi-public area here, and it's very walkable. The library's here, down the street are the schools, the church, the community club. So Gives us some additional opportunities here with existing village hall for potential community center, parks, rec, things like that. Before I move on, does anybody have any comment, question, or anything on this section? Again, this is a comprehensive plan. It's a blueprint for the next 20 years. Basically, when someone comes to town, we'll have a nice welcome package, investors, developers, existing stakeholders. And again, these will be the guiding principles and the guiding opportunity maps. Again, it doesn't mean that it has to exactly fall into that bubble, but again, we feel very confident with the information we have.
That ditch that's between, is like that the lot line between us
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the Lake Fells? I mean, so they...
No, that ditch it actually comes right through here, like right
So
there.
that's right sort of in the middle of ours?
Yep. What we would do is we could put, continue to storm sewer so that we could create a lot, and that could certainly be under a parking lot. We just wouldn't put a building over it. But we've looked at a couple different building pads and parking. Again, we'd like to keep the buildings up close, nice big wide sidewalks, building up close to Johnsburg Road, parking in the back and down the sides, again, to create that kind of effect you already have.
But where the drive goes in, the Angelo's, that's part of the centers, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
That right above there is...
Yep,
the
right
center.
here. That's his center right there,
Okay.
yep. It kind of runs like this, that right in there is the end of his development.
Tim, that open space park on the north side by the Oak
Oh, here?
condominiums up there, yeah. Is that little creek going through there that you
Yes.
got? Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of a big creek that goes through there.
I've walked the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's really
pretty
nice.
cool in there.
That's a pretty piece of property.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
All the old
A
oaks.
lot of mature oaks in there, and again, I think again,
That would be beautiful.
over
Have
time
something
to
there.
create even a creek walk and get some connectivity to the neighborhoods. And again, that was the thought as Oak Creek Townhomes got developed, but again, hopefully in the future, something will pop there. But at one point in time, if this would zoom up, we envision putting a gateway there, and then off one of the roads, there is a potential access to come in off the first road to the north there. So again, if we wanted to create a little parking lot or something.
So that's ethylene there,
Yes.
actually.
Yeah. Again, this was always planned to be more passive recreation because of the steep slopes, the oak trees, and you really wouldn't want to go in there and scorch everything to try to create open true.
Right.
Again, that other parkland we just received is right over in here, right? That we just picked up those extra lots.
Yep.
Yep. So again, it could be kind of cool if we can, work together to get some connectivity between these open spaces, those open spaces, and all the way on up to the...
Yeah, 'cause it's all walkable.
Yes.
So we started at the furthest west flood one, taught our kids about elevation and flood ponds. We walked all of them, cycled through there on the creek and came out in the Fox River.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was really neat.
And the...
Does go all the way down?
Yep,
Yeah.
goes underneath May Avenue.
Yep.
Oh, that's where the
Right
culvert
there.
was.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yep, right here.
A $1 zillion
no
culvert.
ticks.
A $1 zillion culvert.
But just so you know, Friends of the Fox River and the environmental group studied this reach from the Fox River all the way up through here to see what fish or species or wildlife was making its way up here, if any, and we should be getting those results. They also studied the branch from the Dutch Creek by Riverside Drive all the way through Dutch Creek Estates. So we got some great information. We got some real high-quality, creeks and channels and rivers and things like that. So it would be cool to create these walkable areas, if done right.
Yes.
Is there water going under May all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's controlled by a little levee that's like right here.
Right,
There's
where
a
the
little
pond
levee,
is.
yeah, and that keeps all the ponds in check.
There's actually another levee
Yeah. Oh.
up, yeah. Bob Lozelle put in.
Those levees all on private property?
Most of them are.
Yeah.
There was one, I think, out by
Lake Donwood.
Hickory Way, and that way was the only pond that was ours. I don't know how we got it through when we became Johnsburg. One out of the 5 or 6 that are up there, we got.
Okay.
And the guy started putting more boards in because he wanted fish.
Oh, yeah.
And then raised it up,
Yeah.
remember that? And then all of a sudden, everybody upstream's like, hey, my pumps are going off. I've never had water in my yard.
Yeah.
I'll take those out, yeah. So, all right. So then, this was the downtown center. This was kind of the heart of the planning area, and there's the roundabout, and there's St. John's. This, again, was all based on Church Street and what we're working on right now, and that's still on target to be bid here. And we're hopeful at the beginning of October, we hear if we got the ITEP grant, the announcements should be coming out soon. But again, kind of where we took off, here's the fire, here's the bank. They do have some open space. They're looking at subdividing, maybe cracking off a lot to sell. We're working with them right now, but haven't heard from them in a while. Our existing residents will stay residential, and if they want to do a neighborhood, business within your home, that's certainly allowed in the downtown. Same thing down Fairview. Our library, a couple little existing pockets of already, little small businesses. Long Meadow Stubby's all residential. The school, this was kind of unique because during the process is when we started to hear about the opportunity. The school may stay, the school may go, the Bush, the grade school. So again, we took an opportunity because this is a 20-year plan. If the school were to go, this could be a really cool mixed-use opportunity, or even some sort of a senior development or a community development, or like I said, mixed use with some commercial, and then blend back into residential with open spaces and gathering areas and connect. I mean, it's a 8-acre piece, I think, right in the heart of town that we could have a blank slate to have some fun with. Here's the creek that comes down right behind, kind of a common area along St. John's and under, and makes its way down. Again, these residents are here and love them to stay there, and again, if somebody wants to convert one or live in one and do something there, that could be kind of unique and cool. Tiger Field, Community Club, Rescue Squad Park, all stays, open space, and good things are happening there. The community club's investing money in their building, and next year, along with our project, they're going to shut the field down and regrade it and tie into the storm sewers we're providing and hook onto our sanitary sewer, and it'll be a top-notch ball diamond. They're really going to fix the grading, the drainage, and the parking lots, and so that's going to be really slick over the next several years. Again, this is all existing residential. Coming down Spring Grove Road, this is what's known as, you may know, Dan Sample owns this corner piece. He currently allows the Hiller family to farm it. And so again, a natural progression would be commercial wrapping around on Johnsburg Road, Spring Grove Road, and then transitioning or feathering back because the 1-acre estates, Dutch Creek Estates comes into play in the larger lots, 1, 2-acre plus. So this could be a neat transition. There's a lot of topography as it raises up, so you could do some neat townhouse, coach house, again, mixed-use development to blend into this, what could be kind of a cool neighborhood retail commercial opportunity.
Tim, I think you're going to have to make, I'm surprised we didn't pick this up, the mixed use that you've got just to the west of Bush School.
Yes?
On the northern edge, there's 2 houses that are up on that Church Street. They have access on Church Street. So that whole northern section is now residential.
Okay.
I think you probably need to identify that. If they saw that, they wouldn't like it.
You mean Butels?
Right. Butels in the house to the east of that.
Yeah.
It's Butel and Claperick, right?
Right.
Butel and Claperick between.
Again, this is a comp plan. We're not telling people we're changing it to.
Right.
Mixed use is not a zoning change.
Right.
It's a plan. If someone were to buy Butels and said, I'd like to knock it down, or I'd like to make a building or do
Right.
something, this would be consistent with it.
Right.
That's a good point.
But it's just that
I
you've
could just take
identified
the-
existing stuff right now, and that should probably be.
Okay. I know right where you're talking about. Then we come down around again, we have our, again, when we say gateway, what it means is we'd like to, over time, you saw one at the north end on Johnsburg Road, you'll see one here. It's not the big giant gateways that you see out on 31, it could be a smaller version, and kind of like you go into Crystal Lake, you know, Woodstock, Algonquin, other, unique downtowns along Grove. When you get into these downtown or these planned areas, you start to create a theme, a brand, and then once you're in there, you start to see similar things like our streetscape, like our pedlights, like our banners, our planters, sign packages, wayfinding signs, could have a miniature version of that stone base, it could have the black powder coat, ironwork or something. All of a sudden somebody, oh, I must be getting close to the downtown area. you know, you're seeing Crystal Lake put a lot of wayfinding signs out all over the state routes now to really promote and get things happening down there, so.
Historic downtown.
Yes, yep, absolutely. So that's what we'd like to introduce again over time, and when developers and or investors come in.
Crystal Lake's been doing, Antioch's been doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, here we have at St. John's, the chiropractor, Hogan, and all of the existing commercial, again, love them to stay, but if they want to remodel, rehab, upgrade, whatever, that'd be cool. This corner piece could again be a commercial mixed use, is it existing homes and a two-story brick building where they rent apartments, yes, but again, over time, if things really start happening down here, you may see people buying those up and bundling them together, and creating kind of a cool deal around this. It will be in you know, a hot corner because it's got signal as intersection, and again, it's got a lot of traffic heading north and coming in and out of town. So that's what those types of investors look for. Again, this is the residential development, and then coming around the corner, this is pretty much the way we got it set up already, with some infill pockets of a few houses and businesses and homes and things, but again, that's what we'd like them to consider, you know, some of that kind of commercially cool downtown elevation, two-story, business on the bottom, housing above. That was all in the surveys that everybody voted very positively on. A little later in the presentation, you'll actually see a detailed exercise we took in the triangle. We took the old engineering style triangle drawing that John Smith and I did in the 90s and updated it. The planners got a hold of it and really made it look cool. And from my standpoint, I was looking at how much buildable area, John had requested it, and Ed and a few others. How many parking stalls could we get, and what do you think the size of that infield could be for activities? And if people had businesses on Chapel Hill, Fairview, and Johnsburg Road, and we wanted to do something like in the infield or in their backyard, it could be really cool with sidewalks and grass areas and open space. And so we spent a little extra time in this particular area so we could share some ideas with you and the committees. Again, this is the Heman piece back here, some of the open space that's there. You know, like to see some residential, maybe a little higher density back there. In talking with Tom Heman, in fact, I'm going to meet with him next week. He wants to kind of go over some ideas he has to do something back here. He's always got some cool, fun planning ideas. He's always been a planner since I've known him for the last 25 years.
Well, that other parcel says too, right? No, down.
They're both Joe's.
They're both Joe.
Yeah, so's that one on the other side of the road.
Yep.
No, other side. Up,
Yeah,
other
one.
side. No, down.
Keep going,
Down.
down,
Right.
that one, and the greens, and that,
That's all.
lots along that road.
That's all Joe's.
Yeah. And the reason it shows open space, because if you drive out there right now, you got the notorious cattails, and you got poor soils, but again, that all goes in when you do a planned development. A PUD, it requires open space, and that sure counts for it, and you can really create, if you place the buildings right and at the right elevation, that creates kind of a cool look over, you know, looking out your windows and at the natural areas.
There's actually one of the channels from Dutch Creek has a
Reaches
cove
up
coming
in
in.
there, right?
Has a cove area coming in, so they could actually get water access through Dutch Creek woodlands, through the
That was-
channels.
Years ago, I think that was planned, right, John?
Yeah, right around
By
through
John
there.
Dayton,
Yeah,
there was,
kind of right in through here, yeah, I think
Yeah,
one of the,
those-
There's one of those coves that just touch into that lighter green area.
yeah,
down by the
oh,
where
down
it
in
says-
here, yeah.
Yeah.
So then we have where the bank is, and we have the Frank Schmidt Park, also known as Lift Station Gardens, for the newer people who haven't been around and heard that one. Again, we've planned for, and will strive for, we continue to ask the county if they're ever going to expand the bridge, to expand and include sidewalks, and if they won't, we'll work and try to strive for our own pedestrian bridge that we could do whatever we'd like then on it, similar to the McHenry Bridge or the Algonquin bridges or things like that, where it could be 8 to 10 feet wide, two-way traffic. It could be for bikes and walkers and things like that, and then we could decorate it. It could be kind of slick, you know, standalone from the road, so we don't have to meet the federal and state, you know, roadway specs and details. But we could certainly do our own bridge and mimic exactly where the structure and supports are, so we don't impact the navigable waters below. So Years ago, we actually got prices because we had done a couple head bridges down in DuPage County and in Aurora, so I had some good numbers on a head bridge from the lift station area over to Mario's piece. Because right now, you feel those are sidewalks, they're really not, they're just concrete shoulders that are elevated and they're wide enough. Can you walk on them? Sure, but they're really not considered. McHenry and Lake County call those concrete shoulders. They don't even consider them sidewalks.
Right. Tim?
Yep.
Is there any talk on the county level about the bridge? I mean, reconstructing the bridge or?
There's no talk about reconstruction, they're just rehabilitating some of the structures and supports. You may see them under there.
Some of the pillars are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have that program, and they'll basically just come out and work on the existing structures and kind of reface them with the structural materials. And then, I think several years ago, they painted superstructure under there, so they're gonna work on the below water and above concrete right now. But there's no talk about expanding.
They'll expand it.
Yeah, I looked at those, I had our team look at those structural plans, and you'd actually have to introduce a whole nother set of structural supports, because the ones that are there are not designed to start cantilevering further and further out, one side or the other. We did look at that.
Yeah, there's exposed rebar and everything.
Yes. So I got John's comment up top there. Any comments, questions on kind of the downtown area and what we're proposing? All right. Then we just go across the river, and this is consistent with what a lot of the people had talked about, and in the actual document, this is actually flipped. This should be yellow, and this should be brown, and at the Planning Zoning Committee, they noted that, and I don't know why it did that, but probably the day I tried to make a switch on something. So this is all gonna be high-dense residential, the higher density, and because right below here is Whispering Ridge, so we definitely want the yellow, which is the 3/4 to 1 acre lot, kind of wrap around here, that transition around this open space. And the reason this is open is because it's got sensitive soils and it's got some drainage challenges, and we need area for stormwater management. And so a road network, in each one of these you see where we talk about access management, far enough away from the intersections. And we are proposing and have worked with the county to make this a full 4-way intersection. Right now it's a T at Bay Road. We've always had concurrence from the county that Charnbrook could be an access point into a development area. Salem becomes a right-in, right-out. And you kind of see there's already a table set for right-in, right-out up here, and what was once supposed to be the funeral home here and some retail along here. This is the bowling alley. Again, we're looking at ways to minimize curb cuts and things like that. The sight distance near the bridge is a challenge, and so we did take the time to really look into this for the utilities as well as transportation, but we also felt it was important to loop this in and around and kind of maybe there's opportunity to get a riverfront access here, and connect these neighborhoods so they can come out here to a signal at Bay and make their lives a lot easier. And again, Salem is a private road, goes underwater a lot, and you have some challenges with potholes, and very narrow, as well as the other roads, along the river there. But this is a wetland. This has been identified as a wetland in the 3 consultants that looked at it before, when it was a CD Partners and a whole bunch of other different groups came in. But again, high-density residential in here, and then green space, kind of a transition from Coolidge, take advantage of the natural areas. And there was discussions where they were going to come out of this bay and extend a little channel down through all the way to here with a culvert and things like that to kind of create these townhouses that had potential piers and waterfront.
They're going to tie into the pond.
Yeah.
Have a pump that
Right.
keep it moving all the time.
We didn't drill down that far into the plan, but that's what 2 or 3 people thought would have been hot back in 6, 7, and 8.
It was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was cool. They had actual PowerPoint where they drove it through, and they had the different houses, parking underneath, and the house up, above on the second, 3rd floor.
One comment on there, Tim,
Mhm.
is that little green area off to the west that has a finger going to the river, that is a connection to the river.
Yes. Yep.
So that has access, it's roughly about 60, 80 feet
Yes,
wide.
yeah.
Is that all Chabillos on both sides of the
Yes,
road?
Yes.
that's part of Chabillo's property that goes to the river.
Even on that side, right?
Yes. So that could have an interesting access to the river.
Yes.
That would be,
Yep. Again, working with maybe Mario or somebody, because he does have a boat ramp, he does have access. I mean, maybe we do something with him, and that takes the place there if we can get a different one from somewhere else along the chain. But again, it's good to plan, it's nice to plan it. You know, when people come to look at these properties, that may be a differentiator or a huge selling point, you know, for somebody that, if they want to work and find one somewhere along the river network, that could be a real selling point for that type and style of product. So I'll make those updates and those changes there. This is in your packet, and this was back to the triangle again. And you see our samples. This was presented at the public meeting. It was presented at planning and zoning, in which was a public hearing. You have to have a public hearing, open it to the public, close it, and that, you know, it's part of that process that Michael tells us we have to do for comprehensive plan amendments. So again, we've already created, we have picked out and spec'd the pedestrian lights, the crossing signals, the streetscape, the street stamping, the handrails, the benches, the trash receptacles. So a lot of legwork's been done over the years, which made our life easy. That some of those furnishings take a while in some towns to pick out, and we did it. So what was cool about this plan is that we basically, you see all the existing homes and businesses that are there, they're in gray. And the reason we did that is because I wanted to show the owners that, you know, that's kind of the rear yard, or we call it building setback line. We allow zero lot line up front, so we like big sidewalks and build up close, so you can create that cool, you know, facade, sitting areas, things like that. And then we allowed, I think, between 75 and 100 feet from the front building setback line to the back, which every single building in the triangle fits well within that. So if they want to stay there or expand there or do something there, that'll fit nicely. And then we then added parking. This is the ring here for parking inside. So again, you're looking more at the architectural elevations and building and those streetscape features versus looking at cars. And so that's why we did that with 1, 2, 3, 4 ways in. We'll easily identify that, signs, lighting, sidewalks, things like that, make it nice and easy to get in and out of these parking, which will make these businesses very, very successful. The key to a lot of the research John, myself, and others have done is you gotta have the parking to make your downtown a success.
How many spaces do we have in the town?
So we had...
It's on here, I think, 213.
Really?
Proposed parking provided 314 stalls.
But by ordinance, it's on that one page. in
It's
your-
on that page, Kevin,
Um,
your packet.
So the required parking, what I did that exercise, John had asked, so we did this exercise.
In the triangle?
In the triangle, with the buildings that are there and with the setbacks and the bulk rates and the lot coverages, I got a maximum square footage of building. This was wildly successful and everybody wanted to build there. You know, the parking would need to be 213. What I've shown is 314. And again, I didn't overpark it, I didn't feel, and we were able to fit really nice. And again, it doesn't mean we have to build it all, but it could be done in stages, land banking, or just grading it and then building it as they need it, but...
You want to point out for everybody, because we own some of those parcels already, like we bought the one off Fairview, the one off Johnsburg Road, it was donated. There's a couple off Chapel Hill that have been donated. You want to show those
Yeah,
so everybody is aware that we actually own part of those parking spots
You know, when
already.
a few people bought some land in here, they actually bought a long strip, maybe a lot looked like this, and then they kept the building, like the Chapel Hill Body Works, chiropractor and massage place. They actually had a long lot, and then when the gentleman bought the piece, he kept just enough for their parking and donated the rest to the village. So we have some slivers, like in here, we have a large piece that we got in here, access to the back here. We also have, there's another little triangle up in here that went back in a place that we got in there. So again, as people move, or as people buy, or development will occur, we will, again, work closely with them to get this open space all dedicated, along with the access points, of which I purposely put this one off of Fairview, because that's where we have access today. And again, this lines up with Reed, makes good planning, we're far enough away from Fairview and such. And this lines, there's the gas station, the PD right there, and that's far enough away from the entry and exit of the roundabout. Again, the reason I did this is because I have looked at a few opportunities with the old tavern and several of those parcels some people were looking at. And in that point of the triangle, you can't get good access there, but if we get an access here and we start doing parking kind of around here, it's the start of, for 1, 2, maybe 3 places to do a shared parking arrangement right in here, and then start building it into this infield. And what was really cool, and I think it even surprised John, is that the infield there for activities, the actual green space, we incorporated, you could see it a little greater detail, landscaping to screen the parking, sidewalks, a little walk system, and that whole green space is 2.85 acres. So I don't know if you realize how big the triangle, you guys that have played there and worked there and seen it, but, that's a pretty good size open space, so.
It's played ball back there all summer long.
You could have a nice, gazebo, band shell, something in there in the middle of it, or whatever.
Right.
One thing there is gonna be a challenge, Tim, is that, see that outer ring of the whole triangle that's wider than, that is the area I asked Tim to go further to the building line, and you could see that, no inside there, Tim, behind, there. You can see there's buildings in there, there's garages that are in some of the properties that are involved in that, and that's gonna be a challenge for us to make that become reality if these people choose to use their properties as residences. They are not gonna wanna give their parking garage up. The assumption that we have here is that these are all going to be someday, the model that we used here is that they're all going to be converted to businesses, which probably won't happen for a very, very long time. So that's one of the challenges we're going to have to be facing in the future, is how to deal with that in the event something larger, somebody buys a number of those parcels and wants to develop a portion of that on Chapel Hill Road or the Johnsford Road section, how we would integrate that all in there. There's even a few garages, isn't there, Tim, on Chapel Hill Road in the back there?
Yeah, there's one right here.
Yeah.
But again, one opportunity I looked at over in here, the garage was down here, working with the homeowner or the potential investor, that some of these garages are in pretty rough shape.
Right.
Working with them to get a donation of the remaining land, maybe it'd be, more cost effective to actually move the garage, give them a little variance, get it next to their house, connect it with a breezeway or attach it to the house. Give some variations on a setback or two, get it off the potential opportunity piece, but make it very nice, and so if they want to stay there, live there, they still have their garage.
Right.
It just, instead of detached, becomes attached, and so we have looked at a few of those, but again, the ones that are out in the middle, we may have to work with them a little bit.
As they become neighborhood businesses, a lot of those garages may not even, people might even care about the
Right.
garages.
If it does become that.
They might want more parking or more activity, more open space areas, so. I just really think this would be a really neat opportunity, so that the front of the buildings will be finished very nicely, but also they could, I saw a lot of this in Minneapolis, I saw a lot up in Wisconsin, visiting a lot of different places. A lot of these food, restaurant, microbrews, other things all have, even in Lake Geneva, you can walk in the front door and then walk out the back to a garden or an open space, and then you walk on through and you're connected to a parking lot or to another street, to another whole strip of retail. So that was kind of the concept there. Again, they can have community events, they could, business events, business functions, like John said, could be really, really neat and different, but more for the triangle too, for activities. So we're not taking away from Rescue Squad Park or anything there, but they could be used for different things in different locations. So. So that was that exercise, and there's just, oh, I
Yeah,
should have
that's-
flipped to this, that
that's
would've been
good.
cool. There's that. And we did reach to the other side, because when you say the triangle, we also have to consider what's happening on the opposite side of the street, and how we connect with mid-block crosswalks and the crosswalks at the intersections, crosswalks to the neighborhoods, you know, things like that, so that's why we did that. So, that's the main master plan. There's text that goes along with it, there's exhibits that go with it. I'll make these minor tweaks and then submit it back to Claudette and incorporate it if it's approved tonight. But again, there's still work to do, and so different committees and groups will be given some homework here. We're not done. We need to review our existing codes and ordinances and update them to match the downtown master plan. We do have zoning and different rules and regs already established in the downtown, already established for the riverfront property. I just think it's a real chance to maybe enhance them or update them and make sure it's consistent and sends the right message. And then we also can update our standards for architecture, for the site civil. We actually don't have individual site plan requirements and checklists. And that's when we get asked to review like a half times or something, we just use good engineering practice. We should really incorporate the parking lot setbacks, the berming, you know, everybody refers back to the subdivision ordinance, but it's really not a subdivision, it's an individual lot. So then again, we can enhance landscaping details, sign details, lighting, again, the zoning, maybe the bulk charts, they just need to be evaluated, that's all. Again, we need to promote, sell the plan to create economic development. We want to retain our businesses here and help them expand. We want to attract businesses and continue to make this a reality.
I'm hoping that continues on as a priority for the village to finalize all that stuff. These are the hard jobs that are coming up now.
Yes.
And, you know, we're going to be asking the committees to really dig in on a lot of these things. You know, Public Works is going to have to ask.
Yeah, last week was the Illinois Municipal League. Claudette went to, I know, she went to a couple sessions on economic development and enterprise zones and other things like that. I attended a few, then I just came back today from the ICMA. It's the International City Manager Administrator that was in Kansas City, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was there and I was walking around collecting information, talking to other communities and other administrators and managers from different parts of the country, asking kind of what they're doing to attract businesses. And there were some small towns there, you know, the 5, 10, 15, 20,000 that are doing the same thing we're doing. And we're all kind of in competition.
But it's really important that we don't put this on a shelf collecting dust, that just keep moving on a steady basis. I hope
Yep.
we're able to do that. You know,
So, if anybody has any,
Is there any kind of like I don't know, maybe a convention or some kind of org where developers come to
yes,
talk to villages and communities to
Yeah,
see what
actually-
they have to offer?
actually, I've been working with Pam Campata. I'm on Transportation Infrastructure Committee at MCEDC, and she has a lot of, she just had a couple of different conferences, and she partners with the other EDCs. She's been partnering with Lake and with Boone and with Kane and Kendall, and so there's a consortium. But yeah, there's shows in Vegas. The retailer shows are in Vegas once a year. The residential home builder shows. There's stuff that's in Chicago. There's stuff that's all over the country. There are different locators or finders.
those are generally the big box people,
Yes,
money people
yeah,
that go to
you're
those
right,
things. This is really important that we get this part of our comprehensive plan, so that when people come and look, when future, maybe downtown investors like they did in Barrington,
Yes.
come and look at our downtown area, they see this plan, or they see, you know, there's gonna be people starting to look
at investing in downtown redevelopment.
Yes.
I'm expecting, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think that's a unique niche.
Right, right. You
And
were referring
that will
more
be
of
done
a
through
place
our-
so where
our
people
comp
are
plan, our
looking,
website.
right, Kevin?
What's that?
Like a convention where people come and they're looking at.
Yeah, and this is kind of
Where
a
you-
unique niche.
where you
It's
set
not
up
like,
and
yeah, it's not
sell.
like a big box stores, or it's not like, you know, an R&D Phil that wants to come in and wants to buy up, you know, a couple thousand acres to put homes down, you know, I mean, this is unique.
One thing I've suggested, I've been part of it many, many years ago, but I think it'd be kind of cool to, maybe we find out investors, developers, kind of the niche market that we're talking about for downtown. We actually invite them to the village, maybe we have a breakfast meeting where we present things, and then, we actually rented a bus and drove them around the community to show them not only the downtown, but when I drove the gentleman that you introduced us to, Claudette and I, we drove him around the whole town. He was interested in seeing the 31 corridor. He was interested to see the housing stock and the different mixed use. He was interested to see what was north, the schools. We drove him everywhere, and he was, man, he goes, you guys, you're on target. You're just, he goes, this is good. You're early. Get this done, so when it does come back. So I think the next step is to promote. Maybe we have, you know, investor meetings. I mean, those are things that I've seen work specific to us. When you go to those shows, you're in a pool of
Right.
a million sharks. that
Yeah,
are
it almost
all
seems to me like it's gonna be like a homegrown.
The
Yeah.
thing that I think we might be able to do on this, Tim, and we've talked at this at length in a number of instances, is there are certain larger acreage parcels that are really parcels of opportunity.
Right.
That would be different than buying one, 5 lots on the triangle. Because what you probably are gonna have on the triangle is people are gonna wanna keep it, they're gonna wanna live there. We've heard that from people already. That's gonna be an evolution type process. But
Right.
if we can get them to Bush School, if we can get them to the Carrick property, if we get them to the Ansopolis property, if we get them to the Southtown stuff,
Right.
then they'll start connecting, they might connect it all together
Right.
somehow, make one big deal
Right.
somehow out of it.
I think we could easily put together a little brochure, whether it's a trifold or even a little packet to hand out of those specific larger parcel
Right.
areas. 1, 2, 3, you said, you don't need to do all of them, but let's take like a priority.
Commercial.
Because certain ones need sewer, water, infrastructure. Those may take a little bit or a little more investing or finesse. Well, some of them are in the heart of downtown, have the sewer, we could easily expand the water, things like
Bush
that.
School would be a perfect.
You know what I mean? So
highlight,
some
right.
of these, we could pick and choose and do a little promotion
Right,
and start getting the message out. And then, like you said, the other stuff, the onesie, twosies will infill, or the expansions
Right.
up here could certainly happen over time. But we should promote with the existing businesses and show them. I met with Joe and Ray and Steve Kuna, and they were like, they're like, get the sewer here now, this would be fantastic. They want
right.
food and other opportunities in that
Right.
place.
Yeah.
And so does Angelo, his tanks are out back, he gets them pumped all the time, it's the Fritz story all over again. The money he spends in pumping those tanks, and then it limits what those other little end users can be, the individual users. If we get sewer to him, that his whole place could turn into something different.
Yeah. The same way with Boardwalk.
Yes.
It's interesting talking to those guys, you'd think that the bowling alley's been there a long time, and it's been there 10 years
10 years,
already.
yep, well, since.
And, they're ready, they have some really high maintenance costs already, trying to keep it all going.
Yes.
And, so the need is definitely there, if we could get it there.
So the really thing that I really want to kind of reiterate again is that, these have been identified as activity areas within each section of those, Sunnyside, downtown, and Southtown. There's potential activity areas within each one of those boundaries that could be utilized for public gatherings, whether it be public-private gatherings with a business or whatever, or activities that Tom's committee might want to put on in parks, in the community club grounds or the rescue squad grounds, or where Bush School is at, or any of the properties down in the south area down there in the middle of the triangle. Because those are what draw people, those are traffic generators, and those are the things that people will come to, and then they'll utilize the other small businesses that are in town, the eateries, the pubs, the you know, anything else that they may, you know, ice cream shops or whatever else. And it's really important that we got places to be able to draw people to activities. And, you know, in all the research that we've done on downtown, revitalizing old historic downtowns, which have always been, in the heyday of the big boxes, were almost forgotten and turned into rust buckets. That's all it's all rotating back now to, you know, we're trying to recreate the heart and soul of the community, so that it's a gathering place where people can gather and mingle and socialize. So, I think that's...
Well, I think anybody that's interested in coming into the Triangle, that wants to convert to a commercial property, I think we have to look at some incentives for them to do.
I think that's something that, depending on what they do and what they offer, you know, I think that's certainly something that this board can consider, you know, and there's no question about that. There's gonna be some, but there's gonna have to be, I really think the big challenge for you in the future will be the sewer and water issues down through all this thing, once again. But I was interested to see, you know, Senator Kirk's got some interesting things that I just saw it. They printed it all up on here. He's got some stuff that was in a mailing today about, I think he's an important contact for us. I talked to him when he was at the Old Valley Country Club. And he says, we've got some sewer and water issues that we're really working on that we'd like to talk to you about. So I gave that information to Claudette.
Cool.
Claudette called Viney, told Viney about it. So,
If there's no further question, the goal of tonight was to present and hopefully move to approve the downtown amendment to the comp plan, is what you have shown. So,
John, you
I'd
make
like
a
to make a
motion?
motion to approve this downtown amendment to the comprehensive plan.
Second? Trustee Frost?
Good job, looks really good.
A lot of work went into
Yeah.
that, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
10 years or more.
So we have a motion by trustee Heeman, seconded by trustee Frost. Further discussion on the motion? So like Tim and John said, let's keep coming up with ideas of how to promote it and keep it going.
Roll call.
On the roll. Trustee Hutchinson?
Aye.
Trustee Frost?
Aye.
Trustee Heeman?
Aye.
Trustee Curry?
Aye.
And trustee McAvoy?
The really neat thing about this is every event that we put this before the public, the stakeholders, everybody was enthusiastically supportive. Got really good data, really good information. We over communicate on this.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moving.
Motion by trustee McAvoy, seconded by trustee Curry.
Don't forget celebration of the park Saturday, for all you staying in town.
Yes?
I'll get your check from John Thursday.
Okay.
Good job.
It happened. We got it.